think we'll have enough water. Oh, this is good.
I think there's no sound. No, can you just TV sound? No, not mute. Put sound. It's on. It's not playing for some reason. Oh, it's not on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
This is for you. How about you?
Share that with. So I was out of town for a few weeks too. My mom was in Northern California on her own. We have a really small family. So she's had some health issues. Oh well. I have a couple of hands.
The hard hairs, yours cannot.
Sorry.
I knew I was forgetting something.
It's true. I spent a couple weeks with her so I was trying to work remotely to take care of her, and that was after so it's just
Rinpoche, can I grab you at the break because I have a translation question?
but she's doing I put some things in place.
There will be no break. There will be no break.
I know.
I'm going to
For you.
end the class early.
Afterwards, then.
Yeah.
I got her one of those. So she keeps saying that she's the phone. So this way, well, it's through a company, but what happens is you can speak to it. It's through your phone line. So they will send someone if you want to send someone. If you say, oh no, I did phone, I got my phone. It's a fall detection. So she phones. She's unconscious.
Okay, let's. Chum den de jen jaba da jomba yanda ba nobe sanje rigba dan chabso dewara jaba jiden jamba jibu dube kalo jorwa lana lada menam je domba sanje chum den de pe jawa shaja doba la Chudo yazo jao damba jumden de jin shaba ta jomba yanda ban zobe sanje rigba da shazun dewa da jaba jiden jamba jebo dewe kalo jorwa lana lada menanje domba sanje jumden Tuba la chaze lo chedo yazo che o domba jomden de jen da jomba yanda ban zobe sanje rigba dan shabso temba dewara jigden gemba jebo dewe galo jorwa lana lada menam je domba sanje jomden de bejawa shaja tuba la chaze chedo yazo che Oe lama dang gombo zhen jambe yang cha ze lo kange lo che nye chen de nyen da nam da rab se che nye dun che che se che nye ge to ga le ma enze kanda se pe ra ma re men do mo do nye ge se cho do gun la po je da ze yan la chu ju yang de ai song cho da ra je cho Nye mo nye lo le je cha do che ze chen men se do nye go che nye chen ze ra te nam te ne da je sa ju da sun ya ze to be ko cho da jo da cho ni gen de da le me se jambe yang la de oma arabaza na 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 Umara Bazanado, 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 Umara Bazana, Umara Bazana, Umara Bazana, Umara Bazana, Umara Bazana, Umara Bazana, Umara Bazana. Oma Arabazana, de Zenden Jera Veseje Dalu Demo Memba Rabzene Kadan Tenju Shonlo Doba Loju Bobe Nawa Zendo Pege Joje Medo Dama Jera Lenje Nyende Nyamba De Sanje Shindo Meide Bewai Jogun Namda Shinla Chobara Joy Lama Damba Kenama Anje Chugu Kala Kenzi Tentene Jedara Tsambe Dujan Zema Alan Zemala Samje Chuje Charaba Abdo Zoy Rana Mendala Ganaya Daya Me Sanje Jodan Zoje Shonama Alai Chanju Bado Dane Javzo Che Dage Cheshe Jebe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Jobara Shoy Sanje Jodan Zoje Shonama Chanju Bado Dane Javzo Che Dage Cheshe Jebe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Shoy Sanje Chodan Soje Chonamala Chanju Bado Tane Javso Je Dage Choshe Jebe Sonam Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Shoy Okay, good morning. Good morning here and there. I hope you can access. Is it on?
Yes, it's working.
Okay, okay. So today I'm going to make our class short because this cough, the more I talk, the more I cough. So I'm going to limit my talking. So we will end at 11:15. So there will be no break, no tea. Anyway, so we are now back to Patience chapter. So it has been a while since we last stopped, since we last talked about patience. It has been maybe 5 months, 4 or 5 months. So during those times, I am sure that you had ample opportunity. There were so many situations where you were, I don't know, that there were so many occasions to practice patience. So I want to hear.
I hear nothing.
Mm.
I can't turn up Rinpoche's volume.
Why don't you come closer?
Bonnie,
Huh?
can you sit a little closer?
Like no
Why don't you sit here? Somewhere here closer to me? You want to sit
It
here?
wouldn't make any difference. I did the club today, and
Ah.
I forgot to bring my hearing aid, so
Oh.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, so how did you apply? First thing is, were you able to even remember? Many times we don't even remember when the occasion arises. We completely forget about the things that we learn, we study. And then for some people, they realize afterwards, oh no, I should have applied what I have learned. For some people, there was not even that acknowledgement. And then some people able to apply as and when. So were you successful? I don't expect everyone to be, all the time successful. And I had many occasions where sometimes I completely forget. Sometimes it was too late. But sometimes there were times where, this is the opportunity. Because we make prayers all the time. We recite in our prayers that, when such and such arises, may I be able to practice patience. When I meet with these difficult people, may I be able to treat them as a valuable object, one who facilitates my practice of patience. May I be able to practice patience then. But when actual occasion arises, we do not. So in my case, there were plenty of such things where I wasn't able to do. But there were times where I was able to do. I'm sure it's the same with you. If you want to share any of this, you are welcome. If you want to keep it to yourself, that's also fine.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was realizing that even though my mind is as disturbed as it's ever been, I at least am more mindful. Being mindful, I can recognize that there are things that are annoying me or bothering me or making me angry, and I can notice them without just reacting to them, which means that I at least avoid the downfall of striking out in return. But I find I have a lot of difficulty remaining patient in the face of suffering. I tend to wallow in it. When I catch myself, I can sometimes bring myself back from that. But the main thing is, it's not that I have less need to practice patience. It's just that I recognize more that I need to do it, and because of that, I'm more successful.
Yeah, in such situations, we really need to sit back, isn't it? And think through, what is that bothering you? Is it the issue itself, or there is something else? Many times we find that actually it's not the issue itself. There's nothing wrong with the issue or whatever the person says, but it is my ego. My ego is bruised. My ego is hurt. How dare he say this to me? How dare He doesn't tell me. How dare I am not the one who is deciding? How dare he calls me this and that? Our ego comes in. So we have to think through, what is the real issue? Like somebody calling you names. What does it matter? Is it really the thing that he said, or there is deeper? So we have to check that. Once we realize that, then just to give an example, if somebody calls you fat, is a Tibetan, itself, the term itself is not bad, not good, inherently nothing bad or good. If it is bad inherently, then no matter who says it, irrespective of culture and practice, who, where, when, it shouldn't matter. Because in Tibetan culture, it's a praise. You have gained weight, you have put on weight, so good. Whereas in the West, if you say, oh, you look well, you have gained weight, they will be really angry, isn't it? That's what I was told. But in Tibetan culture, the first thing you will say, oh, you have gone thin. Are you sick? But when somebody who has put on weight, oh, you look well, you have put on weight. So this shows that the word itself, the label itself, has no inherently, there's no inherent bad or good thing. It's just how we interpret. If we take it as a compliment, that's it. It becomes a compliment. If you take it as insult, it becomes an insult. So that's why we say that emptiness is the remedy for all. So when you are able to see the empty nature of self or I, then the ego has no room to arise. When there is no ego, all these things does not cause us harm. The minute our ego comes in, then everything becomes a problem. So that we need to tackle. And another effective way, we have discussed this throughout the class, that we have to reflect on the benefit and the disadvantage, benefit of patience and disadvantage of anger, hatred. So in our life, there are so many things that remind us the benefit of patience. Just to give you an example, every day I think without without miss, is it? Every day I get reminded when I boil hot water in the electric kettle. After you boil the water, I pour it in a flask. Every time I pour that hot water in the flask, I get reminded the benefit of patience. Anytime I try to be impatient and try to pour it quickly, it spills. Sometimes it spills on my foot, my feet. It burns me. It spills over. So in that, just that action, you can see that being patient is okay. It will take more time, but you will be you will be saved, is it, from all that unpleasant encounter. So it is not easy, but the whole purpose of going through this is so that, we can improve. First time, no. Second time, maybe not. Third time, maybe not. But at least if you feel that kind of remorse or regret that, oh, I should have, at least that counts. And then what you can do is, when this happens, oh, this time I wasn't able to do, then make prayers and determination that, may I be able to, next time around, I will really practice patience. May I be able to do so. Bless me, Three Jewels or my Guru, to be able to do so. So if you keep that practice, there will come a time where, yeah, at least you will be able to grapple with. At the moment, we don't realize it. So that's how we gradually progress. Otherwise, we just come here, listen to Shantideva. He was such a brilliant scholar. Wow, very good. That's it. When you come home, nothing there. So in terms of patience, just to recap, just to jolt your memory, there are three types of patience. When we talk about patience and tolerance, normally, we think about enemy. Enemy is one part. The first one is patience or accepting suffering. This is mainly when we practice. Like when we practice patience, tolerance, it is not easy. It is not easy. It really bruises our ego. We have to really accept. We have to provide victory, offer victory to the other person. It is not easy, difficult. There will be challenges. But we find a way to see meaning in that, and then practice forbearance. So here the patience of accepting suffering is being able to voluntarily and courageously bear the difficulties that may be experienced in the course of Bodhisattva practice. It's not easy. Bodhisattva's practices are not easy. As I mentioned, offering victory to your enemy, that's not easy. But all this, we have to see the reason, and then try to do. The patience of certitude about reality, understanding the nature of reality, the principle of dependent origination. So this is very important. Sometimes to us, we see that only one person to point finger at. Is that all that person's fault? 100% that person is black. But when we take into account the conditions, the causes and conditions, the things that give rise to, it's not just one person. It takes so many other things to come together for the person to cause us harm. So when we take all this into conditions, then that 100% that person is the one who wronged me, maybe it will kind of decrease. The intensity of our anger may subside. So that's why it is important to always consider why, what happened, what are the conditions, how did this happen. Then finally, the patience of disregarding harm done to you. So we have actually covered the first two. So now we are actually on to the patience of disregarding harm done to us. So this is the person whom we dislike, the person whom we perceive as enemies, as enemy. So because we perceive that as enemy, so we hold grudge. And then with grudge, if we think again and again, it intensifies. Then it may trigger us. It may push us to do things that we will regret later. So one of the, what you call, remedy or counter counter factor or the countering, one way to counter such is forgiveness. Why we hold grudges? Because we are unable to forgive the person. So forgiveness has so many benefits. And nowadays there has been lots of research on forgiveness. So they have come up with studies that link forgiveness, that they come up with the relationship between forgiveness and our mental health, even addictions and PTSD. It is understandable when it says the mental health. It says improves relationships. That we can understand, isn't it? When you hold grudge towards somebody, like say family members, if you are unable to forgive something that a family member did to you, your loved ones even, definitely with that grudge, if you hold on to that grudge, the relationship will strain. Same with your friends, colleagues. Why relationship strains is because we keep in mind one thing that person has done to us, one negative thing or bad thing or hurtful thing that person has done to us. So when we hold on to it, definitely our relationship will suffer. So the more forgiving we become, the more we forgive these things, our relationship will improve. Imagine you have some dispute with that person, and if you hold that grudge, let's say colleague, you have an argument, you have a dispute, and then you hold that against that guy, and always remember, this guy is nasty, he said this to me, I will never forgive him. But who really suffers? So who suffers? Does that other person even know that you are holding that grudge? He may be oblivious to what you feel, but here you are burning inside. So, but you have to face the person every day. You have to go to work every day. And how awkward and how stressful the encounter can become. If you can avoid him completely, that's still okay. But you have to see that person every day. So there is, every time you see that person, there is kind of a, what you call the expulsion, is it? When the two magnets come, what do you call that? There's this force. Repulsion. You feel that repulsion. You see that person whom you don't like. The minute you see it, you feel it. There's stress. So you don't get to enjoy even let's say, party at your workplace. Everybody is enjoying, but you are not because you are seeing that person. But if you're able to forgive that person, let go of that grudge, you will enjoy like everybody else. There's nothing causing you that repulsion, that discomfort, that uneasiness. So sometimes we feel that, oh, I'm not going to forgive him, as if, it is really hurting the other person. It is not. It is you, one who is suffering. So that's why it's very important to forgive. In order to forgive, you don't have to forgive something grave kind of mistake or an insult or an harm. Even small things, husband and wife, between partners, between parents and children, between friends, between colleagues. Every day there are things that you say, the other will say, which you find it hurtful. But if you give these small things, then the relationship will improve. Why relationships suffer is because of one thing that you hold on to. Someone, your partner says something and you hold that. And then every time the person says, you associate with that earlier remark. And then you create your own. And that's when the mind reading comes. You say, I know why you said this. I know you meant this. But in reality, you don't really know. You are just assuming that that's what it is. So if you're able to forgive even the smallest things, then we will be able to forgive the bigger ones. And thereby, you forgive everything. And then that helps you. So I wanted to show today, okay, first maybe we will cover this. So we have been talking about Buddhist ways, but they have done so much research on forgiveness. So one of the popular programs is called Rich Forgiveness. It is developed by Dr. Everett Worthington. And it's interesting. R stands for recall. Recall the events. Recall the events, the hurt, as accurately and objectively as you can. So they say that you need to know what you are forgiving. So you need to try to kind of reconstruct what happened. So how this can help is when you try to recall that, sometimes what you initially thought may not be true. You realize the first time you think that everything is that person's fault. But when you try to recall, maybe you see that, oh, maybe that person is not 100% wrong. I played some role in that. So it is important to know what happened. And then have to decide that at that time, we have to decide that we are recalling this not to pursue payback. We are not recalling because we want vengeance. We want retribution. Instead, we should treat the person as valuable. It's interesting that even they say that we should treat the other person as valuable person. That aligns with what Shantideva has been saying. The other person who causes us harm is a valuable person. Without that person, there is no way we can practice patience. We can progress in that particular practice. And also, the person, if we are able to take the proper action, then the person is helping us to exhaust our karma. Why we are experiencing is because we have committed that karma. So now with that, we are exhausting it. So that's recall. And the second one is empathize. Now once you recall the whatever hurt, you try to empathize with the person. You put you put yourself in the other person's shoe. Sometimes when you try to understand the person is in lot of pain. Why the person did such is either mentally unstable, or he must have, when you think of it, when you look at those people who are causing all this, like mass shooters, looks like most of them seems to have some mental problem. And then many of them, if you look at their past, they have experienced so much pain during their childhood. So that's from the conventional way of thinking. But from the Buddhist way of thinking is, what are the Buddhist ways? To empathize with the one who has wronged you. What kind of thoughts can help? Reasons.
The person is not it's not the person that you could be angry at. It's perhaps what they did, but what they did would not happen if the person didn't have some sort of delusion. So it's the delusion in the other person that you should really be upset with.
Didri semjen kyomen dini nyuman gyunsh nambara jene keban semjen namla true mejes. That's what we have covered before. It's like it is not the person's fault. It is actually the delusion, the anger, the ignorance that compels the person to do so. Remember we talked about insane person. If an insane person hits you, we don't get angry because we interpret, oh, he is mentally unfit. We let go. If a blind person bumps into us, we forgive them because he's blind. He could not see. Insane person, he is not himself. He is being compelled by his condition. That's why he do such things. Likewise, those people did this because of their anger, their delusion. This is very nice. Some people, they are so delusional, so ignorant, so much under the influence of negative emotions that they even hurt themselves. We normally treasure our body. We fight because we cherish our body and our life. But there are many people who cause self-harm, who commit suicide. So it's that we have to think through. If they are harming themselves, their own body, which they cherish so much, which they will protect with their lives, if they are willing to cause harm to themselves and their cherished body, then it is nothing surprising that they are causing others harm, causing me harm. That's one way. So when we bring this into the second one, then we become more empathetic towards the person. So that is important. Without this empathy, the intention to forgive is hard to arise. So when we see the conditions, so like the second, the thought patience, when we look at all the factors that has contributed to the person's action, then we will be able to kind of empathize. We can see, oh, I see why he did that. Remember, sometimes we felt so much insult, and then when the other person explains to you why he or she did this and this, and then you are, oh, okay, in that case, oh, I don't blame you. I can see why you did that. So that is to help us. So once you have the empathy towards them, then comes the altruistic gift. So A stands for altruistic gift of forgiveness. Recall a time that you hurt someone else and were forgiven, and offer this gift to the person who wronged you. We are not saints. We have committed so many wrongs. And there were times where we were forgiven. So it says that you think about such occasions and then decide that you are going to offer this gift. And here is like, I'm offering this gift. Actually, it's a gift to yourself. When you, as we decided, as we discussed before, when you forgive, it releases you from that prison of hatred, prison of grudge. So you yourself, you liberate yourself. So the third step is to decide to give, make an altruistic gift. With that, you commit now. C stands for committing yourself to forgive. So here it says publicly. Of course, that is better. If you announce that, okay, I am forgiving it, and I'm forgiving, that's better. But if you cannot do that, then at least write a letter. It says, write in a journal, tell a trusted friend, or if you can, tell the person who wronged you. And finally, holding on to forgiveness. Forgiving is not forgetting. Memories of wrong and feelings will come up. Remind yourself that you have made a choice to forgive. So now that once you have committed to forgiving, so really forgive. And some days you are unforgiving, some days forgiving. That's not the way. So of course we have to understand that forgive doesn't mean that we forget. Forgive doesn't mean that we condone the action. That's why I was very surprised when I first heard His Holiness advice to the group of Jews from Israel. They went to see His Holiness. And His Holiness advice was, you should never forget this. So I was like, aren't we supposed to forget this? Then he said, you should never forget this, so that you will not do this unto others. So we are not forgetting, but we are consciously forgiving because it harms us. It helps us in forgiving. It harms us when you hold on to it. Remember, it says that hatred is like holding on to a burning ember. The more you hold on to it, the more it will burn.
I have not heard what you said. I will hear it when I do the replay. But I have a fundamental objection to all these 5 steps. And that is that they are permeated with ego. Recall the events of the hurt. Why? It happened. Let it go. Empathize. You can't know what the person's life experience was. Why? If you are judging that they wronged you, you are making a mistake in your own stream of consciousness. A sense of injury makes a karmic tie between you and them, the more you dwell on it. As far as the altruistic gift, there's an old saying, well, smell you. Why bother? You're still focusing, I'm injured. It's wrong. It's marig to dwell on this. Just accept what comes. Accept your reaction and work inside. This is all outside. So therefore, that's my feeling, and I will understand your response when I listen later.
I don't know what to say.
It's the whole thing is.
So if you
If
really,
you recall and dwell on something, you cement it into your mind stream.
no, remember,
Better to just
yeah.
take what happens.
I think since you couldn't hear the explanation,
Yeah.
so you later go back and
I'll
listen.
listen later.
Yeah, because recalling is not just I was hurt, because at that time you also make the decision. First, when you recall, really, because we have already made a judgment that that person is bad, what he did or she did was injustice. There's this sense of injustice feeling. But when you really purely recall, sometimes what we believed, what we thought, may not be exactly what really happened. So one of the, I think I've mentioned about Nikan. So Nikan practice is about reflecting. So they always suggest that you start with your parents, your mother or father. So what have I received? What trouble I have caused? And then what have I given to them? So these three questions you reflect, go through your life chronologically. So they have done research, and there were people saying that there was especially one participant. So she has such a negative view, holds so much hatred and anger against her mother. And then after 30, 40 years later, she did this retreat, reflected, and then she realized that there are so many good things that she has done, but she has only focused on one little thing that her mother didn't do. That also she realized that there was a reason behind that, why she couldn't do that. So at that age, your mind is really occupied with yourself. So you are unable to see the whole picture. When you age, when you become mature, more matured, and then when you look back, this time you are looking back as a third person, seeing these two, and then you see, oh, actually, I am not, what do you call, my assumption is not true. I'm not fair in really forming that judgment. So that's what happens when you think back. Let's say if we had a big argument. So right now, right that moment, you feel that I am 100% wrong. Yeah? But when you calm down, when you replay that, he said this, I said this, he said this, I said this, then you can see, oh, if I hadn't said this, he wouldn't have said this. So you can see that you are also responsible. You are also to blame for the final outburst. So that's why when we recall, and also recall not to punish that person. Recall all this because we have to know what we are forgiving. So when you objectively, that's why I say objectively, many of the things that we formed our judgment, our decision, not objectively, it's our assumption, our personal judgment. But if you are able to look at things objectively, maybe you will have a different view, different assumption. So that kind of helps you, that intensity, it brings down the intensity of your grudge and anger. With that, then you will be able to even consider empathizing the other person. Yeah, so you may not have heard what I said, maybe later. If it doesn't make sense, it's okay, you can discard. Yeah. So When we just say take on and all this thing, we won't be able to really forgive, because that's more like a suppression. You just suppress. There's no reason. So whenever anything that born out of reason, it is easy to really, let go. Suppress, yeah, you will reach a time where you can no longer suppress. So that's why we need to apply the reasons, especially when we bring in the Shantideva's reasons and logic. That really helps. Yeah. So anyway, this is just additional. If you find helpful, use it. If you don't find helpful, discard.
So, Rinpoche, what you're saying is that when we say we are hurt, it's a conclusion that we have drawn. To be free of that conclusion, we need to analyze and dismantle.
Yes, exactly.
And we can only do it through reasoning, Buddhist reasoning, psychology reasoning. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. That's a very good summary. Yeah. Wait on, there is something which I didn't see yet. Come on, I thought I have something else here. Okay, I'm going to show this. Somehow it's not in here. But then will others be able to see? They won't be able to see. Something is missing in my slide. Or is it to the later part? Let's just see, yeah. Maybe it's in the later slide. It's not here. For some reason. That's strange. Okay, let's watch this then. It's not in there. So those who are online may not be able to see this. I thought I brought it. No, cannot. Have to redo all thing because it's a reading view. Also no sound. How come? So now there's also no sound. Okay, never mind. I will try to get this on YouTube. Somehow the sound is affected. I don't know why. TV sound is on, isn't it?
Yes.
But I cannot see. There's no sound for some reason. Okay, never mind. So basically, this is about, we can watch next class. Even on YouTube, you cannot. That's really strange.
Accessibility shortcuts 8 items. Voice guide off.
Okay, never mind. You can close this now.
I think
This one, the voice guide.
that's me.
Close button.
Suppress. Yeah, there's no sound. Okay. What time is it? So I was trying to limit myself from talking. That's why I prepared this, so that you can watch this. But it didn't work. So do you remember where did we stop last time?
76.
Wait, Oh, it's gone so far down, is it? Okay, I think maybe we just stop here. And then, yeah, continue. Next, in the next class. Dagi jinye sabe jawa de dowa gunla gangbe jabara juzun lozan daba ye tembe ningbo ringdo seje shos Rinpoche maje banama je jurje kieba nyamba meva kone kondo pewar sho kuze rabden je namgara chele choju jeba dan losan tembe deme sas dove meze tado ne jurje korwe jengamzo bendan dewa malu jongwe ne chere zewan tenzen jas Jabe zede bado ten joroche Chidara jemba da gondo zambo tenya dejen do Deda kungi jeso talo Jawa deda tamje rabdo ngo Jawa tamje je ngowa kala chodo ngakwa de Tage gewe zawa de Zambo jeje rabdo ngowa ra je Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.